Hey guys, it's Saturday morning where I am. I came to the garden because honestly I haven't been here in a couple days because I have been married to the kitchen, preserving things like all week long. So, and plus it's been kind of rainy, which is good for the garden, but bad for weeds. I mean, good for weeds, bad for me. I came down here to see what needed to be picked. I'm sure there's plenty of tomatoes. I'm not sure if this happened where you are, but I've talked to a couple different people from my area, and this has been happening to them as well, so I know it's not just me. So the first flushes of tomatoes, all the blossoms set, it was perfectly fine. I'm harvesting those now. The second flush of like the blossoms all dried up and fell off. That had to have been when our major heat wave was, because tomatoes don't really like extreme temperatures. Oh my gosh, I felt something on my leg. I'm about to freak out. They don't like the really, really hot. So I bet that's what happened and all my blossoms fell off. But as I'm walking around looking, the blossoms that have set in the past week or two, or have came on in the past week or two, have set. Luckily, when you have 200 plants, you're bound to get something. Also, this is my first time growing green cherry tomatoes. They're actually more of a yellow, but I really like them. Like, I'm gonna grow these. It's called green grape. You would think that this green variety would be tart, like most green tomatoes, but it's so sweet. It's so good. It's like, I know I'm gonna have a million cherry tomatoes to pick, so I'm gonna start with the bigger ones and lay those on the bottom. I brought out my handy dandy crate and I'm gonna fill it up and see what we get. I'll tell you the varieties as I'm picking them, in case you care. If not, fast forward. Right here in front, I've got a variety called Green Giant. It's seeming to do okay. I need to go through and prune some diseased leaves off. I put all my green tomatoes at the front of my row so I could remember to look for them. Because like this tomato is very ripe, but if it was mixed in with everything else, she would get lost. So that's Green Giant. Oh, I've got another one. And these aren't going to be the most flavorful tomatoes in the world because we've had rain, and so rain really waters down, like dilutes the flavors of the tomato, but it is what it is. And I've got to get these off because a lot of rain will make your tomatoes split, and so I want to get them before the bugs do. This is also Green Giant, and it's green and it's giant. I think this one's Cherokee green. Let's see if I'm right. I was right. This is a variety called Cherokee Green. I really like it. It's got, I don't know if you can tell, but it's like got orangish, like kind of like Thornburn's terracotta colored shoulders, and then green and yellow underneath. One of my favorite green varieties is Green Berkeley Tie-Dye. But I don't think any are ripe yet, but I'm waiting patiently. I love the Berkeley Tie-Dye series, all of them, I like them. While I'm here today, at the end probably, because if I put it in there now, it'll get all squished. I need to harvest basil, and I'm gonna tell you the basil that I grew this year that I hadn't grown before. I don't know if you can see it. It's this one. This tall guy right here. It's probably a foot tall and it is loaded. It's a variety called Emerald Towers, and I'm not sure if it's a hybrid variety or not. I had to sniff my hand because I got a whiff. But I got the seeds from Geoseed, I think. But I think Johnny sells it too. It's supposed to be a late flowering variety. So out here in my big garden, that's what I planted because I'm not going to be able to stay on top of picking it because basil changes flavors when it flowers. Especially this like Genovese sweet basil. So if you want to keep it the same tasting, you got to get it before it flowers. But I've been very happy with the growth on this. I've picked this lots of times and it's supposed to get tall, and hence the name, Emerald Towers. But that is something I'm definitely going to grow again. If you buy from Geoseed, it's a hassle to buy from that company because they don't have an online ordering system. You have to like email in your order or send it in the mail. But they have really good prices, so it's worth it. But I will warn you that it takes a long time to get your seeds in. So, moral of the story is I really like this basil and I will grow it every year. You can't grow green tomatoes without growing the green zebra. This is a more tart green tomato, like how you would think that a green tomato would taste. Now, I got these seeds. This is a separate. This tomato was called green zebra cherry. It was supposed to be a play on the green zebra, which I already knew that I really liked, and it was supposed to be a cherry variety or version of it. And I got the seeds from Hand Me Down Farms, which actually has a lot of fun tomato varieties. But it looks different than a green zebra is always just gold and green. And this one has like pinkish, reddish, orangish blushing on the bottom, on the stripe. Plus, this is not a cherry tomato. But when you start getting all these new, they're not hybrids, but they're not heirlooms. They're like the new crosses, I should say. The size, a lot of times, is varied. Like, it's never going to be all uniform size because it hasn't been bred long enough. So, I don't know if I will put this in. I like the tomato, but I don't think I'm going to put it in my cherry row next year if I choose to grow it because this is not a cherry. See? Oh, this one's got poop on it. It is beautiful, though. Ooh. I've got my first Dr. Witchy of the year, which is a really good mild yellow variety that everybody that likes tomatoes knows just from Roots and Refuge raves about. It's not all the way ripe. The shoulders are green, but the bottom is yellow, and I don't want this to crack and animals, critters, bugs get it before I do. So I'm gonna pick it early. Here's another. I've been picking my tomatoes, especially today, because they're all about to crack when they're just blushing, so that's why this is so underripe. But this is an orange variety called Amana. And then I can't remember if I planted, I know what these are. It's called Thornburns Terracotta, but I can't remember if I planted saved seeds or I got them out of a pack. It had to have been saved, and these have had to cross with something because look how tiny they are. That's what happens when you save seeds, but it's fine. But this one is that nice orange terracotta color, which is what it's supposed to be, but it's a much larger tomato than this. They're usually more like this size. So what happens then is I'm not going to save the seeds of this variety. I need to make a note because I'll forget. I won't save the seeds from this, and I'll just buy new seed next year, and I'll have Thornburns Terracotta because I really do like that variety. Not just for the color, but I think it has a good flavor too. It's not too mild. It's like a good tomato flavor, plus the color is beautiful. This little guy is a tomato that I normally don't like this size of tomato. It's like bigger than a cherry, but too small to slice, but I really like the flavor of. It's called Wapsipinicon Peach. It's like a little fuzzy yellow guy, and I really like the flavor of this. It's super sweet, but not mild. I don't like mild tomatoes. I like the tomatoes to taste like something. And this one does, and I really like it, and I grow it even though I don't like the size of it. Big rainbow, and I'm almost 100% sure I planted saved seeds of this that crossed with something, because these tomatoes are usually much bigger as well. Okay, so everybody raves about holy basil, and I planted it, and it's flowering, which is supposed to be the most fragrant now. Like, is mine broken? Because mine doesn't really smell like much. I'm so disappointed. I wanted to smell the smell that everybody's smelling. And mine, my hands just smell like tomatoes. Like, it smells like nothing. Disappointing. Here's another one of my favorites, Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye, and I think I got her just in time because it looks like she just split and there's no bugs in it yet. But I really like the Berkeley Tie-Dye series. I like all of them. And this one was loaded. I got 3. But it's like a green and pinkish red stripey. It's beautiful. My Black Beauty tomatoes are taking so long to ripen. They're all still green and hard. I'm waiting on that black tomato. Like, look how dark these are. Isn't that magical? Everybody that comes over, they're like, what is that? And I'm like, it's a tomato. Duh. I grow it for the novelty because I really don't think that the flavor is that great. I'm a texture person, and the skin on a Black Beauty tomato is so thick. But I throw it in like sauce and stuff with everything else, and it's fine. But I grow it because I want a bowl of all different colors. And when people see like a dark purple black tomato, they've never seen anything like it. This is a variety called Black Seaman. That didn't sound good when it came out of my mouth. Seaman. There you go. Black Seaman. I don't know who named it that. But this came from a fuse blossom. And a lot of times when a tomato comes from a blossom that has more than one blossom on it, it's called a fuse blossom, one side will ripen faster than the other. So I'm going to pick this, only one part of it is ripe and the other part is still very green. But a lot of times if you don't pick it like this side will get rotten, and this side, before this side ripens. So this is a variety that's new to me this year called Black Prince. It's, most of them are this size or bigger. I need to taste this to see if it will make my list for next year, because you know I don't like this size. It can only stay if it's really good. But it's a pretty color. It's like a rusty orange. This is a new variety to me this year, Purple Sunrise. I felt it and it feels squishy, and now that I think about it, I think it's a yellow variety. It's got really dark purple shoulders and a yellow underneath, I hope. It's kind of greenish yellow, so we'll see if I picked it at the right time. The bumblebees are out this morning and they do not like me here. Okay. I'm going to show you another one that I'm very confused about, because I've grown this variety before. It was a variety called Lucid Gem. And I got the seeds in a swap. Last year was the first year I planted it, and it was a rounder, or like kind of oblong, like tomato, that looked just like this. It has purple shoulders and a yellow underneath with like red streaking. But it was not this shape. And for the life of me, there's a plant right next to it that looks the way it's supposed to look. And this plant looks like it got crossed with something. But I could have swore I used the same seed as last year, so I'm just baffled. But all the fruits on this one have this shape. And then all the fruits on the next one is what it's, all the fruits on the next plant over is what it's supposed to look like this, but obviously it gets bigger. More like this one back here. So I'm very confused. Like, these are very different shapes of, I don't know what happened. Oh, the sun's coming out now and it is so humid. If you see my hair growing as time goes on, I checked before I came out here and it's 98% humidity this morning. And I'm getting hot. But next down the row is the classic Paul Robeson. It gets like a rusty color underneath with dark green shoulders. It's a classic. Everybody needs to grow a Paul Robeson. It's really good. Here's a more ripe one. This is what it's supposed to look like with the green top. It's ripe even though the shoulders are green. They stay green. And then, not to be confused with the Paul Robeson, is the ever classic Cherokee Purple. This one's not all the way ripe, but almost. It's a classic darker tomato. The flavor's decent. It's not out of this world, but it's good. This is a tomato new to me this year. It's called Rose. It's like this really pretty pink color tomato. It's making these nice, beautiful. I will say that I'm liking the crack resistance on this, because normally big tomatoes all around the top, especially this year because of the inconsistent water we've gotten, the whole top is like all scars, and this looks pretty good. Very mild scarring. So I'm only telling you this as a note for myself, because I'm kind of walking around seeing who's gonna make the cut for next year and who's not. Because I always gotta make room for new varieties. So I really like the Rose. Plus, it's a super vigorous plant compared to some of the other ones that are struggling and have struggled this year. It's winning. It's beating the other ones. So this is the same Rose variety with this. So this came from probably at least 3 blossoms fused together. So this probably came from like 3 blossoms fused together. It's not the biggest I've ever seen, but it's pretty big. But like most of the ones with fused blossoms, 1/2 is ripening and 1/2 is not. So I'm gonna take it inside where it can finish ripening and be safe from bugs. The Rose variety seems like it's making nice tomatoes, but it's also making a lot of them. Like, the plant has a lot on there. So I'm definitely gonna be growing this variety again. Next on the docket is the Castelluto Genovese. It's an Italian tomato, and you know what it is as soon as you see it because of all of these flutes. Plus, this is the only fluted variety I grew this year, I believe, so I definitely know what it is. I grow it for the shape. It's nothing out of this world, but I only grow like 1 or 2 plants of it because of the flutes. It's harder to clean, like for canning, because dirt and stuff gets in between these cracks, and I don't like it. I grow it for the novelty of the shape in a basket. Next is a variety called Giant Belgium. It's a nice big red variety. Usually this is a smaller one, like they're usually massive, but my tomatoes aren't great this year, but I'll take what I can get. Next of the varieties is a variety that if you watch Jess from Roots and Refuge, you know, the climbing triple crop. And that's what I've got here. It's just a classic red tomato. There is some splitting, but it's because of the rain. But I keep brushing into, right in front of it, I planted Another packet that I got from GeoSeed, and it was the gem mix marigold, which there's a lemon gem, tangerine gem, and something else gem. I can't remember. Orange gem maybe? I don't know. But it's little marigolds, and they're so cute. They're just like little happy. There's yellow, orange, and red, and I really like them. And honestly, I don't typically love the smell of marigold. I think it stinks, but I can tolerate and kind of enjoy these little, because they're kind of citrusy. The tiny little marigold. And it's filled with blossoms. It smells good. It smells kind of minty. Like there's a mint behind it. Anyway, I don't think you came here to watch me sniff marigold, so on to the next. These are also climbing triple crop, major splitting. I'll just use those first, it's fine. These two are watermelon beefsteaks, and my tomatoes, once again, aren't very big, but my mom grew these because I gave her a bunch of plant starts, and the ones that she brought from her house are like massive, heavy tomatoes. So I really liked the variety. So if you want a big beefsteak tomato, grow watermelon beefsteak. They're like these big honking pinky red tomatoes. This is a variety. It's doing okay, but it is not the most vigorous plant I've ever seen, which in my experience, this is probably the last year I'm gonna grow this variety called Opalka, because I've just never had great luck with it. I try to grow it every year, and every year it's it's okay, but it's not great. The plant's kind of puny. It always gets sick first. Okay, here's something that I tried. So we moved in at the end of last summer. So the previous owners had planted a small garden in the front, which I'm gonna assume they were all plant starts they bought from the store, because I saw those little plastic tags, you know, from the garden section of the store. And these just said paste. So, but I really liked the flavor of the paste and the size of these tomatoes. And the plants were super vigorous, and they set out tons of tomatoes. Like I was able to can things in September from plants that were planted in May or whatever. But so I saved the seeds knowing that it was a hybrid variety. I knew I probably wouldn't get exactly what they were, but you know what? It looks like I did. These are a nice big paste variety, and honestly they get bigger than this even, but it still has good flavor. It's not like aroma that's like really dry on the inside. I do not like that. I did grow aromas because they make good paste, but I don't like to eat it fresh, and I could eat these fresh because I was missing my tomatoes last year. So my plan worked, and they all look uniform-ish. And I saved these from a hybrid variety, which just shows, just try things, experiment. The only way you know if it's going to work or not is if you try it. The only problem is that you have to wait a really long time to see if it works. This is another paste variety that I saved seeds for. Whoa, about fell over. It's called Myona. It's okay. I think that if you're going for like a paste tomato, I just haven't found any that have rivaled just aroma. They make there are so many, besides that one I saved the seeds for. I really do like that one. But Roma's just set so many fruits. But this is a note more for me, and you can take it if you want. But Kim, next year, remember to put your Romas in a tomato cage, because they're short little things and they're not going to climb this fence. Okay. Roma. Everybody knows a Roma. The basic bee of all the tomatoes. But the plants are loaded. Okay, now on to cherries. I really hope this rain cloud is not gonna rain on me. I found this hiding. Oh, this is a green zebra cherry, guys. Which is clearly not a cherry, it's a giant. Like green zebras don't get this big. But I'm gonna still grow it, but I'm gonna bump it over a row to the slicers. I planted probably 8 to 10 plants of the classic cherry tomato that everyone loves. It's the Sun Gold. It's a super vibrant orange. It's the sweetest cherry tomato I've ever seen. I know it's a hybrid, but there's nothing that compares. That one had a hair on it. It's the best. If you haven't grown Sun Gold, what are you doing? Just do it. But I always, earlier I said I came out here to eat breakfast because whenever I pick the Sun Golds, I always eat the most ripe ones out here in the garden, and then I pick the blushing ones and take them inside so that they can have them. Oh, like how... They're the best. It's like candy. If you think you don't like tomatoes, try that. That's magic. This is a variety that I don't think that I'm gonna grow again. It's called Sunray. It's this in-between size, so if it was gonna stay, it had to be really good. I bought it because they said the flavor was comparable, because this is an heirloom. The flavor was comparable to a Sun Gold. So I was like, well, if I could get a stable variety that tasted like a Sun Gold, and I could save the seeds of it, then I will totally do that. But every single one, and honestly, I'm surprised at how much these aren't split, considering the rain, but like even when it wasn't raining, every single one of these split. So I'm probably not gonna grow Sunray again. The flavor's good, but it splits and the bugs get in it every single time. Another variety, we're on to the cherries now. Another variety that I liked, but I'm probably not gonna grow again, is this long cherry tomato called Blush. The flavor's pretty good, but literally almost every single fruit splits right up the middle, and there's no way that bugs aren't gonna get in this 1-inch wide split. So you didn't make the cut, I'm sorry. See, I just pulled 2 more off. They're all split. Bye. A good variety to grow if you're limited on space and you like little sweet cherry tomatoes is Barry's Crazy Cherry, because like the name implies, Barry is crazy and Barry makes a lot of cherries. It's a super productive cherry tomato. I want to show you the variety that I grow every year that proves that I grow a lot for novelty. Is these tiny little orange tomatoes, and the flavor's good. Surprisingly super flavorful for a tiny itty bitty tomato. And the plant grows wild. It makes tons of like sprawling, gangly branches that I have not even tried to tie up. They're just all laying on the ground. So I want to tell you why I grow this tiny little tomato that you can't do anything with, really. For one, the fruit is so small, it's usually always the first to ripen. So I grow it so that I can have a fun little tomato first. And that's pretty much why I grow it. And because as soon as other tomatoes start coming in, this thing is just for the bugs. Because I never pick it. It takes forever to pick because there's a million tiny little tomatoes. But if you have small children and they're out here with you and they're trying to help and they ask what they can pick, you send them to this plant because it will literally take them 10 minutes to pick. Not a lot, but it'll keep a little toddler brain entertained. FYI. Mom tip. So next is a mistake that I'm kind of sad about. It was this orangish, yellowish cherry that had red streaking up it, or like spotting. I don't know how to describe it. It was called Isis Candy, which is a really bad name considering Isis. But I had purchased these seeds probably 3 years ago, and I've been saving the seeds up, and they're super sweet. It's comparable in sweetness to a Sun Gold. It's not all the way there, but it's really, really sweet. And I saved the seeds of it last year, and it has had to have crossed with a dark variety. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got ever so slightly those purple spotted shoulders. The flavor's still good, but it's not as good. So what I'm gonna do is, this is my note. I'm making notes to myself via video. Buy the seeds next year if you would like Isis candy, because your seeds are tainted. I grew a variety and I think I know what it crossed with. It was called Bosque Blue Bumblebee, and I was so excited because it was beautiful. It was like this really light yellow with a dark orange or a dark purple shoulder, and the flavor was awful. It was so bland. It didn't make the cut, and that's hard to do because if something's beautiful but it's decent, I grow it. This was awful. And I think that's what it crossed with because the size was kind of like that. Darn it. Okay, on to the next. Next is a variety called Champagne Bubbles. It's like this soft yellow variety. The flavor's okay. I grow it because I didn't have any of this color, and I need this color. Here's another variety I grow just because it promises earlier fruit. I got it from In My Gardener, I think. It's called the 42-Day Cherry. And I don't know, I've never timed it if it's actually 42 days. It would have to be 42 days in perfect situation, and that ain't here. But I grow it for the promise of fruit faster. But it's just a basic red cherry, nothing special. Guys, my favorite plant. I finally have one ready. I don't know if you'll be able to tell that it's kind of fuzzy. Can you see the little fuzz? This is a variety I've been waiting on it to ripen. This is a variety new to me. It's called Woolly Kate Yellow, and I had no idea what I was in for, but the entire plant is woolly. And the fruit, the leaves, the stems, it's magical. It looks like velvet. Like, even if this flavor sucks, I'm growing it. And I only had one plant, so I was like, please, dear God, survive. I don't know if you guys have had issues this year where you are, but pests are bad, probably because of the lack of water. It makes your plant stressed, and the heat makes your plant stressed, which makes it more susceptible to pests and disease. But the tomato hornworms are awful this year. And I thought that I wasn't gonna have any because this is a brand new garden space. So I was like, oh, they won't be able to find it. They found it. They have eaten at least 5 plants of mine down to nothing. Just a stem. Good thing I planted so many. I'm so excited about this. Look, my favorite part of dark tomatoes is this part. That looks like a Jewish star. A Star of David, you might say. But normally, they're just like regular stars. This one's fancy. Okay. I'm not going to try this on camera because this is also my husband's favorite tomato, who doesn't care about all my tomato varieties. But every time like someone comes over, he runs out to show them this furry plant. So I need to show you this furry plant. Do you see this? The leaves are furry. The stems are furry. The fruits are furry. Something is biting me. Okay. I'll turn everything into a song. Next is these tiny little red cherries. It's a variety called Sweetie. It's pretty sweet. It's good. I like that one. That can stay. My crate is getting heavy and full. So Brad Gates from Wild Boar Farms breeds lots of varieties of tomatoes, and this is, about dropped it. This is his variety. It is a play on, I think the first one was just blueberries, if I believe. But now they have like blue cream berries, blue gold berries. This is blue cream berries, which is a really light champagne yellow with dark purple shoulders. See the cute little star at the top, my favorite part. mean? When I put these in a bowl on my counter, I arrange the dark ones heads up on purpose so that everybody can see how cute it is. The flavor's okay. It's like a mild tomato flavor, so maybe if you don't like the super acidic or tart flavors of tomatoes, maybe try this one. It's super mild, which I already said I don't really like, but I grow it because it's cute. I only grow a couple plants, and these make a ton of tomatoes. And then the older sister of the blue cream berries is the OG blueberry. It's red on the bottom and purple on the top. And let me know if you've grown this before and you think it tastes weird. Like, it does not taste like a normal... I've never tasted a tomato that tastes like it. It kind of tastes cinnamony. Getting a hint of cinnamon. Which is a strange flavor for a tomato. So when you pop it in your mouth unknowing, it's funky. But I grow it because it's cute. This little cutie is indigo pear drops, and I'm gonna guess it came from the old classic, the yellow pear. But isn't it cute? It's a yellow pear, but it has purple shoulders. And the flavor's pretty good. It's a nice little sweet cherry, sweet yellow. But nobody's ever seen this before, have you? I'm gonna have to hustle because I still need to pick beans and okra and ground cherries and peppers, and I heard a thunder. I'm also sweating. Next is, oh, look at this star. This was the tomato on the front of Baker Creek this year, the black strawberry. I don't think it's 100% right, but it's really close because I think it's supposed to be red, not pink. But it's a good little cherry. I'll grow it again. The plant, I only grew one of it, and really to test its vigor you needed to have more than one, but only one of them. I think I sold them all at the farmer's market, all my plants. So I only have one of these, and it ain't doing hot. It's not great. It's struggling. So we'll see if it does better later in the season, but as of now there's not been that many fruit on it. I really like this tomato, even though it's the wrong size for me, for my liking. This is Brad's Atomic Grape, a classic. She's been on the front of the cover of Baker Creek catalog. It's really good. It's an unusual, like, it's not super sweet like a cherry. It tastes more like a bigger tomato to me. It usually doesn't split, but this one, it's got it. And right beside it, I'm growing its sister. It's a newer one this year. Let me see if I have one that's ripe. I do. This one is called Atomic Sunset. So you can see it's got the purple shoulders, it's got the shape, but it is a yellow variety. And it's pretty good. It's a good sweet little cherry. Next up, Sunrise Bumblebee. It's a bigger cherry, and it's like yellowish orange with red streaking. It's good. I grow it because it's lovely. You see my sunflowers behind me? So late May, early June, my kids were out here with me and they were bored. So I handed them a handful, and by a handful I mean a lot, of random sunflowers, and now they're all popping up in all different colors. There's a dark burgundy one. I can see one that's like the lemon queen, a classic orange. They're beautiful, and they're just now blooming, and a lot of them are branching varieties, so I'll have them for a while. And then the bumblebee family is the purple bumblebee. Focus. It's like a maroon with green striping. And then When I started growing different kinds of tomatoes other than just like a red cherry, a yellow cherry, orange cherry, and I didn't know their names, one of the more unusual varieties to me was a black cherry, and this was one of the first cherry tomatoes I like fell in love with, because it's got that that smokier, like dark tomato flavor, but it's packed in a little cherry tomato. It's really good. I still love her. I still will always grow her. Plus the plants are really productive. Look how cute. Oh God, this is heavy. Thumbnail. So this concludes my tomato picking adventure and me just chatting about tomatoes that I like. I always like to watch videos with tomatoes in them to see what other people think and to see if they're growing something different that I might want to try next year. So that's why I made this tomato video. But I think a storm's rolling in, and now I need to pick beans and can some, get some in my pantry. I've been doing lots of canning. I'm going to make more canning videos in the future. I think my next one is corn cob jelly, which I've never tried before, and my mom said she thought it was gross. Sounded gross, but I think like on a biscuit or like a cornbread. Yeah. So stay tuned. I'm gonna be trying corn cob jelly for the first time. I'll share the recipe with you, the good, bad, and the ugly. Also, I wanted to say that people have been asking me, like, what do you do with your cherry tomatoes? Like, I've got too many to eat. You can pop them in the freezer just like any other tomato and make sauce with it. If you were trying to save a lot, you can put them in a Ziploc and pop them in your sauce pot whenever you are ready to make sauce. I always just throw my tomatoes in with the other tomatoes I'm cooking if I have extra cherries, and I've never noticed a difference. I have also been slicing them in half, putting them in the dehydrator until they're like fruit leather consistency, so not real hard, but not like gooey either. And then when they're done dehydrating, I've been putting them in a mason jar, layering them with the dried basil that I've picked this year. And then when I have a whole mason jar's worth, I cover the whole thing in olive oil. And I use that like sun-dried tomatoes that you can buy at the store. And I don't refrigerate it or anything. I just put it in my cabinet. So like a dark, cool place is where I would store that. And it'll store until springtime next year at least. And then the way that I use that is you can put it on top of pizza. You can blend it in your pasta sauce to make it richer. Once you have used up some of the tomatoes and you've got more liquid on top, the olive oil, take it out and make like a vinaigrette, like for a salad dressing, is amazing. It's like a tomato flavored oil to make or to use in your salad dressing, and it is amazing. So I just wanted to share those extra cherry tomato tips with you, because if you're like me and you planted 65 cherry tomato plants, you got a lot. But thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time.